What's going on YouTube? Or Storm here. It's been a little while. It feels odd to say it because I've been away from doing videos for about a couple weeks or so. But anyway, finally back on board. Today I wanted to start a video that was something a little bit different, which is explaining the card ratios in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I think this is something that's kind of a little bit undercovered in terms of why you play certain cards at 2 or 1 or 3 or 3. I think this is something that you can really, understanding why you play certain cards at certain ratios, really, once you open your mind to it, can really make you a better player, and you can understand why certain cards are played at certain numbers despite what various reasons. And what better deck to explain it than my favorite deck, which is Pendulum Magician. So there's different reasons you might play a card at 1 or 2 or 3. It could be because of the ban list in the case of Luster, where you can only play one copy. It could be in the case of Miss Valley or Eccentric here, where you don't want to see them all the time, or it could be in the case of, so I'm going to kind of, in the case of these guys, where you want to see these in every opening hand. So I'm going to explain kind of one by one, starting with 1-ofs versus 2 versus 3, and kind of go into detail about that. So the main thing is, when you play a card at 1, it's because it is either highly searchable, limited on the ban list, or it's a card in your deck that you really just don't want to draw. There's great examples of this, like Gemnite Garnet, like Gemnite Garnet, the Predaplant Darling Cobra. It's commonly in Yu-Gi-Oh terms, Brilliant Fusion has coined the term Garnet, where it's a card you want to keep in the deck, but you don't want to draw it. In the case of these three cards, in the case of Luster, you can only play one, but it is searchable, and it can kind of help you extend some of your opening turn plays. The case of Unicorn is a card you really want to search when you don't have too many high scales, but you don't really want to draw it. And Pendulum Dragon's in the same boat, at least in my current build, is that it's really good, but it's not entirely necessary, and it's another card to search off the Sky Iris. That's kind of the reason you play a card at 1, you don't want to draw it, the ban list won't let you play it, or it's a card that it's highly searchable, or something along those lines. That's the main reason why you play a card at 1. There's numerous other examples I could give, such as in DDDs, a lot of people like to play Dark Contract with a Witch because it is a searchable 1-of, but you don't really want to draw it. And there's a lot of cards like that in Yu-Gi-Oh! And that's one of the reasons you do play them at 1. So 2-ofs. 2-ofs are very simply explained by, Duncan's old, you want to see it some of the time, but not all the time. And that's one of the main, when you understand that concept, it really helps you figure out which cards you want to play at 2. What Duncan is basically saying is there's certain cards that are good in some situations, but not good in every situation. You want to see them sometimes, but you don't want to see them too much. If you see too many, it's going to screw you over. And that's kind of where these three cards are a great example of this. Dragon Magician is a great card in Link format because you can place it in the Pendulum Zone, and it can cycle back any Odd Eyes or Magician card from your extra deck, provided you have another Magician in your Pendulum Zone. The thing with Dragon, the problem with it sometimes is that it is a level 6, so you can't normal summon it if you control no monsters. And the other issue with Dragon is that it doesn't synergize with some of the Neo Magicians because it's not a Dark Spellcaster. It's also a level 6, so it doesn't always work level-wise with the other Magicians. It's one of the reasons why you play 2 versus 3, because you don't want to see it too much. And the same thing, Avian is the perfect card to explain the logic behind this, because while Avian, I noticed some of the OCG lists are playing 3 Avians. The thing with Avian is that it is not a Pendulum monster, so while it is really good, if you draw, multiple copies of it and you don't have any, you only have one other scale in hand, you're basically going to lose because your hand is completely unplayable. And that's one of the reasons why Avian has always been a card that a lot of players choose to play at 2 for that reason, because what is awesome to have a Solemn Judgment on legs, the bricks can be a real thing. It's not like Kirin where it was a Pendulum monster. Archfiend Eccentric is kind of the same boat, because while having an Exiled Force and MST in one card is really powerful, unlike a deck like Metal Foes where Eccentric is really good in your opening combos because you can set a combination from your deck, then activate Eccentric to pop the combination to get your hand unbricked. But in a deck like this, it's not something that's completely integral to every combo, but having a nice high scale that can pop back row is pretty nice, but you don't need to see it all the time. That is one of the, when you get around when you get that kind of mind wrapped around that you want to see it some of the time and all the time, it kind of gets to why you play certain cards at 2 versus 3 and yada yada yada. So 3-ofs are actually one of the things that, Three ofs are one of those things where you play it because you want to see it in opening hand in every hand as much as possible. And that's kind of where these guys come in. Now, with three ofs, it's a little bit different because there's certain three ofs you don't want to see at multiples, but you play it because it's not good. And Joker's one of those cards where, if you remember, if you guys ever played in Pepe format, you know, when Full Power Pepe was running around with three Jokers, a lot of Pepe players chose to play, you know, 40, even as many as 45 cards because you didn't want to see multiple Jokers and monkey boards in your opening hand, even though they were at 3. And Joker's kind of one of those cards where it can basically search your entire deck, so you want to see it in your opening hand, even though, yes, it's highly searchable, but again, it's amazing. And there's certain cards like that where, while you don't want to see them too much, you have to play them at that 3 because they are amazing. And there are certain cards like Wisdom Eye Magician that are absolutely integral to your deck's basic construct because it's one of the better cards in the archetype. It's pretty easy to single these cards out once you get to an arc. You'll find a lot of times in most archetypes that the best cards in the deck are the ones that search and the ones that summon things from or set things from the deck, and that's where these two guys come in. Same thing goes for Astrograph. Astrograph is one of those cards where if you have it comboed with Wisdom Eye, you can just search so many resources and it's not hard once per turn. It's the same thing, and that's one of the reasons why I feel like that really applies to this. Now, the next part of the video, we'll kind of move on to some guides to siding and talking a little bit about that.
Don't lose your